Excluded from my sister's wedding, I went on vacation. When the wedding fell apart, I still remember the exact second my heart skipped a beat, a moment when a single envelope turned my life upside down. I was scrolling through my messages, half expecting another mundane update, when I received the news that would shatter my reality. There, in black and white, was proof that I had been excluded from my own sister's wedding. The sting of betrayal was instantaneous, as if every cherished memory was now tainted by a cold, unyielding emptiness. It wasn't just the exclusion that shook me. It was the realization that the life I thought I knew was built on hidden fractures. My sister Marianne, with whom I shared every secret and dream, had chosen a path that deliberately left me out. Instead of a celebration of love and unity, I found myself staring at an invitation that read more like a dismissal from a family I thought was unbreakable than I in that moment. Overwhelmed by a mix of anger, sorrow, and disbelief, I made a split-second decision that would forever alter the course of my journey. I booked a spontaneous vacation. I needed to escape the suffocating confines of a shattered past and seek solace somewhere far away. A coastal town whispered about in local legends for its breathtaking sunsets and mysterious charm. The early hours of my departure were like stepping off the edge of a cliff. As I drove away, the reality of my isolation hit me like a tidal wave, but with it came an unexpected sense of liberation. I was no longer bound by the expectations and disappointments of my family. Every mile traveled was a silent rebellion against the betrayal that had so abruptly severed my ties to Marianne's world. That night, beneath a sky so vast and star-studded it felt like an endless canvas of possibility, I sat alone on the beach, the sound of the waves a bittersweet lullaby. I opened my laptop and shared my raw, unfiltered story on Reddit under the title, "Excluded from my sister's wedding, I went on vacation." When the wedding fell apart, I poured out my soul, questioning how betrayal could hide behind the guise of family love and wondering aloud if there was something deeper at play, a hidden truth my sister desperately wanted to keep under wraps. Almost immediately, the responses began to pour in, each comment weaving a tapestry of advice, shared experiences, and hints of mysteries I hadn't even considered. One comment, from you/Curious Heart, struck a deep chord. "It sounds like you're experiencing a profound loss, but sometimes being excluded can reveal hidden truths about those we love. Maybe this vacation will lead you to discover something unexpected about your sister's side of the family. Don't close your eyes to any possibilities." You/Curious Heart, that spark of suggestion ignited a burning curiosity within me. Could it be that my exclusion was not merely an act of personal betrayal, but part of a larger, shadowed narrative within my family? As I embarked on this unplanned escape, every unexpected encounter, every whispered conversation with a local, began to hint that the truth was far more intricate and perilous than I had ever imagined. Over the next few days, I wandered through the narrow alleys of this enchanting coastal town, each step taking me deeper into an unscripted mystery. The serene beaches and quiet cafes became the backdrop for conversations with locals who recalled my sister's past with a mix of reverence and regret. Hidden in the quiet murmurs of a weathered antique shop, I discovered a photograph, a snapshot from a bygone era, that eerily mirrored Marianne, yet belonged to a time I never knew existed in our family history. That evening, I couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. I posted an update on Reddit, sharing the photograph and the anonymous note that had been slipped under my hotel door. The note simply read, "There's more to your sister's wedding than meets the eye. The truth is hidden beneath layers of silence. Follow the clues." My pulse raced as I clutched that piece of paper, my mind racing with possibilities of family secrets long concealed. I read the supportive, yet cryptic replies from fellow Redditors like you/Secret Seeker and you/Old Soul Wisdom. Their words became the fuel that pushed me deeper into the mystery. They advised me to trust my instincts, to document every encounter, and to be cautious. Hints that the road ahead was as dangerous as it was transformative. With every crashing wave and every cryptic conversation, I realized that what had started as a simple act of exclusion had blossomed into a quest for truth, a journey that promised to unravel long-buried secrets and expose hidden betrayals within my family. I was no longer just a victim of a broken wedding. I was an unwilling detective on the trail of a mystery that would forever redefine my identity. Little did I know that the decisions made in that fateful moment on the beach would lead me into the heart of a labyrinthine conspiracy, a dark saga of family loyalties, scandalous secrets, and unexpected alliances. And so, with a heart both heavy and hopeful, I set off into the unknown, ready to confront the shadows of my past, and perhaps find a way to piece together the shattered remnants of my life. In the weeks that followed, the idyllic serenity of the coastal town was replaced by a mounting tension. My days were filled with meetings, clandestine conversations, and late-night investigations. Each new piece of information was like a thread in a tapestry that I was desperately trying to piece together. I began to suspect that the wedding exclusion was not an accident at all. It was part of a calculated effort to shield me from a much larger truth. Point one crisp morning. While exploring an old marina, I met a man named Arthur, a retired detective known for his keen insight and unconventional methods. Arthur was a quiet soul with eyes that seemed to have seen more than most would ever know. Over steaming cups of coffee in a quiet diner, he shared with me his own suspicions about the tangled web that had ensnared my family. His voice was low and measured as he recounted a series of events that pointed to a long-standing feud between two branches of our family, a feud that had culminated in the wedding scandal. Arthur revealed that Marianne had discovered evidence that could potentially dismantle decades of carefully constructed lies. Your sister was on the verge of exposing something that could have ruined the family's reputation for generations, he confided. The wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was a cover-up, a desperate attempt to keep everything hidden. His words sent a shiver down my spine. Suddenly, the anonymous note, the mysterious photograph, and even the subtle warnings from Reddit all seemed to coalesce into a single, ominous message. Truth has a way of revealing itself when you least expect it. That I documented every word in my journal and sent daily updates to my Reddit community. One evening, after a particularly intense day of digging through old records in the town archives, I posted an update titled Part 2 Update, Unraveling the Past. I described how I had stumbled upon letters between Marianne and a mysterious relative, a distant cousin whose name had been deliberately scrubbed from our family's history. The letters hinted at a scandal involving a hidden fortune, betrayal, and even a potential crime that had been covered up by influential family members. The comments on that post were both supportive and cautionary. One user, u/oldsoulwisdom, commented, "Sometimes the pursuit of truth can be dangerous. Be careful who you trust, and remember that the past often holds secrets that people are willing to go to great lengths to hide. Keep safe and trust your instincts." u/oldsoulwisdom, I couldn't help but feel that every piece of advice was a reminder of the risks I was taking. Yet, the more I learned, the more compelled I became to push forward. I reached out to Marianne directly, a conversation I had avoided for too long. I called her on a quiet afternoon, my heart pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. Marianne's voice on the other end was calm but guarded. She admitted that the wedding had been canceled at the last minute, but her explanation was vague, filled with euphemisms and half-truths. I pressed her gently, trying to uncover the details of the scandal that Arthur and the letters had hinted at, but she deflected, urging me to focus on my vacation and leave the past undisturbed. Her deflection only deepened my suspicions. That evening, while I sat on the balcony of my seaside cottage, gazing out at a horizon that now seemed both infinite and impenetrable, I replayed the conversation in my head. The silence on the other end of the line was as telling as any words could be. I felt like I was standing on the precipice of a vast, unknown chasm, a chasm that threatened to swallow me whole if I took one more step. The turning point came unexpectedly. I received an email from an unknown sender with the subject line, "The Missing Piece." Inside was a scanned document that detailed a transaction involving a significant sum of money, a sum that had been transferred to an account linked to one of our estranged relatives. The document was dated just days before the wedding was abruptly called off. I spent hours scrutinizing the details, my pulse racing as the implications sank in. The money, the secret letters, and Marianne's evasive behavior formed a constellation of evidence that pointed to a conspiracy far deeper than I had imagined at that moment. I knew that my vacation had transformed into an investigation, a mission to uncover the truth behind my sister's shattered wedding and the hidden sins of our family. I posted my findings on Reddit in an update titled Part 2, The Unraveling, Secrets and Scandals. In my post, I described the mysterious transaction, the implications of the uncovered correspondence, and my growing conviction that the wedding had been a desperate attempt to cover up a long-standing betrayal. The comments poured in once more, a mixture of concern, encouragement, and caution. One comment in particular resonated with me. This is turning into something much bigger than a simple family dispute. I suggest you keep a record of all communications and be mindful of your safety. There are people who might not want the truth to come out. Watchful eyes. The advice was sound. I began documenting everything in a secure digital file and took precautions when meeting with sources. I even started carrying a small recorder during my interviews, hoping that every detail might one day serve as evidence. That I must confess that the investigation weighed heavily on me. The emotional toll of uncovering long-buried family secrets was immense. Yet, every new discovery lit a spark within me, a spark of determination and the need for truth. I began to view my vacation not as an escape from pain, but as a journey into the heart of darkness, where I hoped to find redemption and a clearer understanding of my family's legacy. Late one night, as I was piecing together the fragmented clues in my room, I noticed something that I hadn't before, a photograph tucked into the pages of one of the letters. It depicted Mary Ann with a man I'd never seen before, standing in front of a grand estate. The man's eyes bore a resemblance to someone I'd seen in old family albums, but the setting was unfamiliar. The photograph was a puzzle piece that forced me to reevaluate everything I thought I knew. Who was this man, and what role did he play in the secrets that had haunted our family for decades? I posted an urgent update on Reddit. Part 2. New Clues and Old Photos. In this post, I shared the photograph and asked for any insights from the community. The responses were immediate and varied. One user, u/memorykeeper, offered a possible connection. That estate belonged to the Sinclair family, a name that was whispered about in hushed tones. They were known for their wealth and the dark secrets that often accompanied it. I wouldn't be surprised if this man was tied to the scandal that's been brewing all these years. u/memorykeeper. As I read through the comments, I felt a strange sense of validation. The threads of mystery were beginning to weave together into a coherent picture, one that was both shocking and heartbreaking. The Sinclair connection opened up a whole new realm of possibilities, suggesting that Mary Ann's exclusion might have been a calculated measure to protect me from a dangerous family secret. Yet, with every answer, more questions arose. Why had this information been kept hidden for so long? And what did it mean for the future of our family? I knew that the next phase of my journey would be even more perilous. I was determined to follow the clues to their bitter end, even if it meant risking my own well-being. As I closed my eyes that night, the image of that enigmatic photograph burned in my mind, a symbol of the mystery that now defined my life. I could only hope that the truth would be worth the pain it would inevitably bring. The investigation entered its most critical phase when I received an invitation to a private family reunion held at an old manor on the outskirts of the town. The reunion, I learned, was meant to bring together the disparate branches of our family for what was billed as a healing session following the fallout of Mary Ann's canceled wedding. Despite my reservations and the warnings from some Redditors, I knew I had to attend. I couldn't ignore the possibility that this reunion might hold the final piece of the puzzle or the key to my family's dark past. The manor was an imposing structure, its weathered stone walls and sprawling gardens exuding an eerie charm. As I approached, I couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with unspoken tension. Old relatives, some whose faces I recognized from childhood and others who were complete strangers, mingled in subdued clusters. It was clear that the reunion was as much about reconciling past grievances as it was about maintaining a fragile semblance of unity. I tried to blend in, listening quietly to conversations that hinted at old feuds and unhealed wounds. At one point, I overheard a heated discussion between two elderly cousins about the Sinclair family and the mysterious fortune that had been hidden away for decades. Their voices were low, but the passion in their words was unmistakable. I felt that the reunion was not only a venue for healing but also a battleground for long-standing secrets and grudges. During the course of the evening, I discreetly sought out Mary Ann. When I finally found her in a quiet corner of the manor, Her face was etched with regret and a resigned sadness. We spoke in hushed tones, and for the first time, she admitted that the wedding's cancellation had not been a spontaneous decision. There were forces at play, things that I was never fully ready to face, she confessed. I thought excluding you would protect you from the fallout. But now I see that it was a mistake. Her words hit me hard, but they also validated my suspicions. As the night wore on, the tension in the manor grew palpable. Suddenly, the grand hall doors swung open with a bang, and in strode a figure who commanded everyone's attention, a man who bore a striking resemblance to the one in the photograph. His presence silenced the room. With a deep, measured voice, he introduced himself as Charles Sinclair, a long-lost relative with an agenda to set things right. Charles revealed a shocking truth. The Sinclair fortune had been amassed through a series of questionable family alliances and, at times, outright betrayal. He explained that Mary Ann had discovered documents proving that several key family members had deliberately hidden the true origins of the fortune. The documents implicated not only the Sinclairs but also other branches of our family, suggesting that our family's legacy was built on secrets, lies, and unspeakable acts. His revelation was explosive, sending shockwaves through the reunion. I could see the horror and disbelief etched on the faces of my relatives as they grappled with this newfound reality. In the midst of the chaos, I recalled a particularly poignant comment from a Redditor who had followed my story closely. Sometimes, the truth comes crashing down when we least expect it. Even if it's painful, it's necessary for growth and healing. Stay true to yourself and let the truth be your guide. Truth seeker. Those words echoed in my mind as I watched the scene unfold. Charles's revelation not only confirmed my suspicions but also provided a context for the exclusion from the wedding. Mary Ann had tried to shield me from this toxic legacy, fearing that the full truth would shatter our already fragile family bonds. Yet, in doing so, she had inadvertently pushed me further into isolation. The rest of the reunion became a blur of heated arguments, tearful confessions, and revelations that rocked the foundations of our family. In one unexpected twist, a distant cousin, long thought to be estranged, came forward with evidence that not only corroborated Charles's claims but also implicated several high-ranking family members in a web of corruption and deceit. Their testimony was supported by faded photographs, handwritten ledgers, and even personal diaries. It became clear that the secrets that had haunted our family were not just relics of the past, they were the very fabric of our present. Throughout the night, I found myself torn between feelings of betrayal and a desperate longing for reconciliation. I took a moment to reflect on all the advice and comments I had received over the past weeks. The words of you/curious heart, you/secret seeker, you/old soul wisdom, you/watchful eyes, and you/truth seeker merged into a single narrative in my mind. Their collective wisdom urged me to see the bigger picture, to understand that sometimes the most painful truths can lead to profound healing. In a moment of clarity, I realized that my journey was never just about uncovering scandalous secrets or seeking revenge. It was about reclaiming my identity and finding a way to mend a fractured family. I decided then that I would not let the darkness of the past dictate my future. Instead, I would use the knowledge I had gained to help bridge the gap between the divided factions of my family. No matter how daunting the task, before the reunion ended, I managed to gather a small group of relatives who were also committed to uncovering the truth and healing old wounds. We formed an impromptu support network, vowing to work together to expose the corruption and rebuild the trust that had been lost over generations. Mary Ann, though still burdened by guilt, pledged to join us. Even Charles Sinclair, whose initial anger had given way to a cautious hope, agreed to help document the evidence and confront those responsible. In the weeks that followed, the revelations from the reunion sparked a series of investigations. With the help of both family members and local authorities, we began to piece together a timeline of events that traced back decades. The deeper we dug, the more we discovered about how our family's wealth had been built on compromised ethics and hidden betrayals. It was a painful process, yet one that held the promise of eventual healing. I updated my Reddit thread with a final post titled, Part 3, The Shocking Conclusion, From Betrayal to Healing. In it, I recounted the night of the reunion, the explosive revelations, and the courageous steps my family and I were taking to restore our legacy. I wrote, sometimes, the darkest secrets serve as the catalyst for the brightest transformations. Though our family's past is marred by betrayal and deceit, we now have a chance to rebuild on a foundation of truth and trust. The response from the Reddit community was overwhelming. Comments poured in, many echoing sentiments of hope and resilience, while others cautioned that the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. One comment that struck me said, "Your journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. No matter how deep the wounds, there is always a path toward healing if we choose to walk it together." Healing journey. That comment, among many others, reassured me that while the past might be irreparable, the future was still ours to shape. In the months that followed, as my family began a painstaking process of reconciliation and accountability, I continued to document every step on Reddit and later on YouTube. I shared interviews with relatives, scanned documents that held the secrets of our legacy, and even moments of tender reconciliation that gave me hope for a new beginning. Looking back now, I see that being excluded from Marianne's wedding was a pivotal moment, a painful but necessary catalyst that led me to uncover truths that had long been suppressed. The vacation, which at first seemed like an escape, turned into a transformative journey of self-discovery and healing. I learned that sometimes we must endure heartbreak to grow, and that in the midst of chaos, we can find unexpected allies and the courage to face even the most harrowing truths. I invite anyone reading this to reflect on their own lives. Sometimes the painful moments we experience hold the seeds of transformation, and through collective courage and honesty, even the deepest wounds can begin to mend. I remain committed to sharing my journey as my family, and I continue to confront our past and build a future founded on truth and unity. As I close this chapter, I want to thank all the Redditors who reached out, offered advice, and reminded me that even in our darkest times, we are never truly alone. Your words gave me strength when I needed it most, and your insights helped me see that the path to healing, while fraught with unexpected twists, is one worth taking.